Hi, my name is Kaitlin Hileman, and I wanted to take a little break from generative search and talk about something that is an AI practice that is changing how we do research today and how we are approaching comm strategy, and that's with synthetic audiences. So as we've been exercising this practice, this is from Bain, we are cutting our research time in half, and we're getting a lot of cost efficiencies with that as well, almost a third. And we're doing it with 85 to 95% accuracy, so it's pretty high. And a lot of us in this room may, or probably, are already using them, or we're planning to use them, or we have partners who are encouraging us to use them in their tools, right? And I think this is the most compelling stat to me. Maybe I'm at the top of the Gartner hype curve, but by 2030, in just 4 years, they're saying that the data that's generated by synthetic audiences and similar types of practices is going to start replacing real-world data. Yikes. But first, let's ground ourselves in what a synthetic audience is. Let's get a shared definition. It's really just a simulation of a group of people. Maybe it's just a single persona. But we're really just using data and models to mimic the same demographics, preferences, attitudes, and behaviors of real people, real audiences. And it's just a tool to test strategies, content, or products in an environment that we can control before we put it out in the real world. And I really want to emphasize the second point about it being a tool. It's just another tool in our research toolkit. It's a different way for how we build hypotheses, how we test messaging and ideas, how we really strengthen creative before we're putting it out into the real world. So first thing in building these is our use cases. Our use case is really going to determine the complexity of the build. Right? These are just a handful that we've identified just in comms alone and purposes for these. But you can make these things as basic as something created in 5 minutes, or you can make them incredibly complex and sophisticated. It really goes down to what you're trying to achieve. And really, it's two things. It's the data that's going in, and then it's the orchestration. What are the instructions that you're giving it? What are the outputs that you want it to do? You can plug in all types of data sources. This is just a sample of one of our audiences. So it can be Omni, which is within Ketchum, our own system with sales data and a lot of survey data as well. It can be something from Mintel, so more on the market research side. StatSocial, that's one of our social behavioral platforms where we're learning about not just what people are saying in surveys, but how are they actually acting in their behaviors on social media, who are they following. TalkWalker for social listening, GWI, again, you can even plug in surveys for it, right? And then when we are working with clients, we can plug in their first party data as well, get some sales intelligence in there, and then lastly, we can also do platform performance data. So how are these audiences historically performing on social media over time as well? I will digress. I can go on and on about the synthesis layer. I feel like a lot of folks before me have kind of touched on this. But I will give one pointer in terms of when you're building a synthetic audience. If you've never built one before, if you're just starting, right? You can start very simple with one. And you can, if you focus on the simplicity of it, that will take you a long way. I think there's a lot of temptation when you're building these to want to put in all the data sets, right? Or you're really trying to build that perfect system from your first go around. Don't focus on that. If you are feeding too much into the model, people talk about hallucinations, or if you're over-engineering things, it'll just confuse the model. And then if you put too many inputs into it, there'll be too much noise. And then you won't know what's really, truly driving the response. And then lastly, like I said, there's that orchestration layer. There's different frameworks you can put in. Maybe it's your own consultancy, secret sauce approach to how you do something. And you want to influence how the model is responding in a really specific way. Or maybe it's just giving it a role and saying, this is who you are. And you just go and you chat with them. So this is the action part, and I am going to be asking for you guys to actively participate. So as I describe a little bit about one of our favorite audiences here, listen, because I'll be asking you some questions about her, and we're going to kind of test her and how the AI is responding. So this is a synthetic audience that we built for one of our egg clients. She represents a very specific Gen Z millennial egg buyer. So she's 18 to 35. She's very health conscious, it's in a green smoothie, but she has a pretty healthy dose of skepticism. She wants wellness that's accessible, and she's overhyped. She's digitally native. She lives on streaming platforms, so she's on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Reddit, all the channels. She'll cook at home. She likes trying different cuisines, but occasionally she'll grab fast food. So she's very adventurous, but also practical. And she shops at regional grocers and specialty markets. She's culturally curious, very into music, virtual reality games and experiences. And she relies on podcasts and online news more than traditional outlets. And over everything, she really trusts peers, right? She trusts creators and transparent brands. And just as you can tell from my description from her, some of the things that have gone into training her are things like purchase data, social behavior, survey insights, and some of the brands that we worked with their own qualitative research as well. So let's test her. Hold on. Okay, so this is the participation part. Let's say if we were to reposition pasture-raised eggs as a premium protein to Maya. Can someone help me out here and have some suggestions about what you think she might worry about or what she might think or say? That's good. All right, maybe a little price conscious. Organic. Okay. She's a fit girl, so maybe she's worried about, her gains, what the actual nutritional value is, right? Okay. So bear with me. If anyone else has any other suggestions while they're shouting out, I did try to do a little bit of a live demo, but it proved to be kind of a technical difficulty, so hopefully this will go. But I'm basically just asking her the same question I asked you guys about the pasture-raised egg positioning. And really my goal with showing you all this too is just having you get a sense for how real some of these synthetic audiences can respond with and the language that they use. Like I said, we put in social behavioral data, we put in examples of social posts and conversations from this demographic as well, really trying to give the model the flavor of that. All right, so first thing, like I said with her language, she's like real talk, right? She says, I'd have to have some pretty legit concerns about repositioning this as a premium protein, right? So she's a little skeptical. So she's thinking premium kind of feels like marketing. I really need to know what's premium about it. And I want data from a dietitian or a peer review studied. I really want to know the nutritional difference, right? Like she cares about wellness. So is it higher protein per egg? Is it more bioavailability? What is the real value? And then thank you, Devin, for price. She wants to know if the price is gonna be, or the cost trade-off is gonna be worth it. Is it really gonna affect her protein intake? Is it really premium? And then really definition clarity around what pasture-raised even means. And then I really like the competitive positioning thing because she's like, well, why would I do that over Greek yogurt or, chicken, basically with the same messaging as well. So her bottom line is she's saying, I'm not really opposed to it. If the science backs it up, I'm good with that. But if you can show me proof, the premium is really about animal welfare, environmental impact, just say that and let me decide if that's worth it to me. So one of the best things about working with synthetic audiences is you can go as deep as you want and you can keep asking them questions, right? So I really just want to illustrate some of the different types of questions we can ask her. So we really want to go deep into her psychographics, her personality, things that are more personal to her identity. We're asking her here, do you see yourself in this messaging? Is it going to even click and resonate? And ask her to explain to us why or why not. So she says, only half of me shows up in this. I see parts of myself, but not all of it, and that's really the problem. I care about where my food comes from, but that's not the main factor. I'm definitely into the research. I'll read the Reddit threads, but I'm not just gonna accept what's on the label. And then she'll even go into where she thinks some of it's falling down a little bit. It's trying to convince me to upgrade my thinking about eggs when all I really want to know is what's different than what I'm already doing. And she gives us a real tension as well. So if anything, the premium protein angle might push me away because it sounds like it's not a product for me. It's for people who've already decided, that price isn't a factor. The cost is worth it. Someone who's perhaps already convinced. So obviously we need to work on our messaging here and our positioning. And then the last example is more of a behavioral-based question, right? Like I said, we were looking at Maya and how her persona is manifesting online and how they're commenting, how they're interacting on social media. So it's like, all right, be honest, would you actually stop? Will this slow your feed down at all? How would you react to this? She says, probably school passed it. So that's good to know. We're obviously not hitting her with this, right? Her first reaction is it doesn't have stopping power. It's not a wait what moment. It just looks like an egg ad. Not really intriguing enough to make me pause. But if I did stop, I would see premium and think, here we go, corporate marketing trying to make me feel like I've been reading the wrong eggs. And then she starts to talk about what would actually make her engage. If someone I followed post about it first, if the comment section, like we all go straight to the comments, right? Like if there's some sort of discourse, and obviously not that big of a surprise to us if it feels a little less corporate. So she says that I would probably go with the positioning. I wouldn't stop scrolling, but even if I did, I'd be comparing it to all the other protein sources, not really getting all that excited about them. I need to see it validated by my community first, Reddit, comments, TikTok creators, and real people saying this is how it's actually changed how I feel about eggs. She needs that real, pure proof. Okay. All right. So this also would have been more fun if this was a live demo and I could have had you guys, I wanted to have you guys come up here and come up with real headlines, but I did it for us. So this same thing, pasture-raised eggs, premium protein for modern families. So we're going to start hitting the more millennial side of Maya and see how she responds. So by show of hands, do we think the first one is going to win? Premium eggs for my kids' scrambled breakfast? Yeah, that one didn't get me either, and that is my demographic. So, all right, wait, since when did eggs become a luxury item? Yeah, a little more. Okay. And then if it's premium, it better be more than just a fancy carton. All right. So we'll see what she says. And while this is going to, we're not just looking and testing whether or not Maya would respond in the way that we think she's going to. Again, it's also looking for that color and those ahas, those golden nuggets we look for in focus groups, right? The quotables. And seeing if that really feels real. Is there a certain language that she repeats as we're giving her messaging? Are there emotional triggers? Are there any sort of friction points that she's sharing? Again, making the synthetic audience feel much more like a real person. So it's the last one. So I think most of us were right. And I think that's the great thing about these things as well, going back to that 85 to 95% accuracy stat. That's obviously a very high level of accuracy. But what I really try to demonstrate here is that the ability for AI to mimic social behaviors is even higher. It's at 98%. So these are, on Oscar level status in terms of actors. They're, incredibly insightful and fun to iterate with, but they are still just actors. So in terms of would I replace this with all my end market research? Absolutely not. Would I use this before testing or dropping a couple $100,000 on testing creative and market? Totally, right? I think this sharpens our research before dollars are on the line. And I'll leave you with 3 takeaways. That synthetic audiences, they're not a rehearsal tool, or they are a rehearsal tool. They're not absolute proof, right? We can't cite one. We can't pass up what they say is true. Data is the foundation, and the sources should be scrutinized. I skipped over that part, but that is the most important part, that it really is about the data that's going in, garbage in, garbage out, right? Like, you wouldn't work with a research partner if you hadn't fully vetted their methodology. So ask the questions. Where is this data coming from? How is the data set built? How often is the data being updated? What are the blind spots? What are the boundaries? Those are all incredibly important, and you need to get the details from your providers or whoever is feeding your source data, because literally everything you're putting into it is going to determine everything coming out of it. And then lastly, starting simple and building strategically. We're not trying to make this overly complex or the most sophisticated. We're really trying to intentionally design it and then refine it over time. And that's it.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Kaitlin.